So now we're going to replace the front wheel. So one of the things is we've got to get the speedo drive and bring it in front of the forks as we roll the wheel back in there and engage it. And then we take the axle, slip the axle in through the speedo drive, through the wheel, and then the axle comes out the other side. But we've got to get the axle spacer and install it, because if you don't, the bike will handle real funny. You want to try not to get any grease on the brake disc, because then your brakes won't work so well. Alright, so we get the axle in there, and it doesn't slip through because it's a threaded axle. It's a threaded fitting. Alright, so we screw the axle in, and we screw the axle in. Okay, and this needs to be pretty tight, but it does have the clamp bolts that get tightened up and keep it from backing out. So I usually just snug it up, okay, and then snug up the clamp bolts. And when you're snugging up the clamp, you don't want to have one side or the other. You're going to need to move the camera around here.
Okay.
All right, so when we tighten this clamp up, you don't want to get the crack all at the top or the bottom. You want to have it pretty equally spaced. And you can look at the threads, you can look at the crack. And of course, once you get it tight, tightening one is the same as tightening the other. But you want to make sure that they're tightened evenly left to right as well as up and down. And that looks pretty good. There's a crack there, and then we'll put the little plug back in there. And then, since this side is finished, we can put the speedo retainer back in there. And we can put the little lower dealie back on. And then after this, we'll put the brake caliper back on. Yeah. You don't have to pull the caliper off when you're taking the front wheel off, but it sure is a lot easier to put the front wheel back on with the caliper removed. And since I was doing the fork boots, I took advantage of that fact. So what we're going to do is get the brake pads onto the disc. And apparently, there we go. All right, so once that's on, then we can remember how this thing goes. See, it's going to go like that, so it needs to be stepped that way. So we'll get this guy on here. Alright, these are critical bolts, and you want to get these very tight. You can read the torque spec, or you can just make them really tight, but they are threaded into aluminum, so you want to make them so tight you remove the threads. Alright, so there's the brake back on there, and we'll get the pads working again. There we go. And we'll put the little cover on. Put the cover on. This is a little air scoop, helps in theory cool the brakes some. Maybe get your style points, I'm not sure. Alright. And that guy on. Okay. So now the front end is back together, with the exception of the top bolts that we left loose because I wanted to pump the forks a little bit. All right, now what I want to do is grab the front brake and pump the forks a little bit, and what this is going to do is settle them. The axle's tight and that bottom clamp's tight, but now any strain that was built up in the top clamp has gotten removed as much as possible, and now we can tighten up these bolts, and there won't be any stress built up